Hey there, and welcome to another Factorio Base Tour. I'm Exterminator, and thank you for joining me again for another one of these. And as always, we are looking at a base submitted by one of my viewers. As with all the other bases, this one is very cool, fairly unique in several aspects. And this was submitted to me. I'm gonna call them Ply. I don't know how to pronounce the rest of their name. I'm not great with names, and it seems like a difficult name. I don't want to mess it up, so I'm going to just call them Ply. Hopefully that's okay. Thank you, Ply, for submitting this. And this is definitely a Megabase. This is a pretty interesting Megabase. So this is a 5.4k, 5.4 thousand science per minute base. And as you can see, it is kind of chugging our performance down a little bit. We're hovering around 30, sometimes 31 UPS here. With this thing fully running. And we'll start with the production, just to kind of showcase. We are here, you can see for every single science, it is a minimum of 5.4k space science, and a few of these are actually slightly higher. And then military science is lower, potentially not even made at all, which is fairly common. It looks like military science is just literally not even made. A little bit of it was made to do a few military sciences, I would imagine, but that's common. You know, I don't usually build my megabases with military science either, just because, you know, you don't necessarily need it unless you're on like a super death world or something. So all the other sciences, at least 5.4k per minute, which in and of itself is pretty big, pretty significant. You can see they are on mining productivity 140 here, which is, you know, almost 1400% mining pod. Obviously max stack size here. In terms of robot speed, pretty high up there as well. It looks like they did up through speed 18, which would have been 4 million science, which is a lot. And then this one alone is, you know, more than 250,000 science. So quite a lot here. Now, they are using some quality of life mods. Nothing in the mods changes like the production of anything or the speed of anything or new recipes or anything like that. They're not using like modified assemblers or anything like that. If we take a look here, the mod list: Afraid of the Dark, Bottleneck, Map View, Power Armor Mark III, a Clock, Crafting Combinator, Far Reach, Cursive Blueprints, and Spidertronic Extended. Just some quality of life stuff. Nothing that would affect the actual production of this base at all. There are the mods, and also let's look back here. This has about 255 hours of playtime. Now, for the size of this base, which we can take a look at now, that's actually fairly low, I would say, for the size of this base. I feel like it would take me probably longer than that to build a base this size. You can see pretty huge here. It is in the city block form, although it's kind of hodgepodge everywhere, which is part of the uniqueness of this. There is some very kind of original, I would say, older parts of the base that's like very much spaghetti, and then obviously some Megabase sections, you know, kind of the more uniform sections you can see here are like the real Megabase production stuff. And trains, there's a ton of trains, guys. The majority of the trains here are either 1-1s or 1-4s, I believe, is what we're looking at here. So this is great. This is this is for a base this big, using 1-1 trains is pretty crazy, pretty unique, I'd say. I see 1-2 trains. We've seen that in quite a few of our Megabase review tours, but excuse me, inhaling too much air there. The 1-1s for a base this size is pretty crazy. If we look at the trains, you can see there's there's almost 1,000 trains on this map. Holy cow. Almost 1,000 trains on this map. This is crazy. Now they have it looks like the first one, it's default to 2, is the destroy fuel. So this is a fuel burning thing here. If we open location on this map, so this is something we see like on Reddit and such quite a bit. Is this is literally used to just burn like wood and stuff, I would imagine. Having the trains go around circles here. So I mean, some trains, obviously, only a very small part of them. We can see here the Spidertron is just got some exoskeletons in it or something. So let's take a look here. They did write up a little synopsis for us, which I do want to read through here, at least part of it. So basically, they said that they tried out a lot of different stuff on the map, so there's not really a, not really a final version of like anything of like a circuit build or anything like that. They tried out nuclear with trains, but later found out that it could lead to blockages, and also that it's FPS or UPS intensive. They use mostly solar and accumulators. They did build a tileable nuclear with train setup though. They said I can say a lot of stuff about motivations for certain kinds of builds. I like underground belt weaving a lot, so we'll probably see that quite a lot here, and also train station weaving, as I would call it, where you will see the station using the same in rail and the same out rail. You'll see what I mean when you look at some of the builds. It said at one point I wanted to have one trains all over the place, but later I realized that with this rail setup I can't service only one train, so I use 1-4 trains and sometimes 1-2 trains additionally, because changing the whole rail system was annoying a task, which obviously it is. They're using train limits sometimes and stuff. They did some circuit magic on the furnace designs where they switch off lanes that are not needed, and stuff like that. They apparently, just one fun note, they got a train station name that naturally came up as Colonel Will, so kind of cool there. You can see achievement produce 1 million green circuits. I'm pretty sure, I don't know why we're just getting this, because obviously they produce far more than 1 million circuits. But yeah, so let's take a look here. Let's kind of start from the quote-unquote beginning here. So this is definitely the most spaghetti part, probably the original part of the base, and things are very hodgepodge in here. I'm not going to look at every single thing, mostly because it's really thrown all over the place, which is not bad by any means. It's kind of all over the place, which is what makes us unique, one of the things. So we'll just kind of browse through here. We see some oil production over here, using beacons and modules, of course, and then some of the stuff doesn't really use mini beacons or modules. And then we have plastic, of course, over here, some robo frames. So there is science. It looks like there's basically all the science is made in here, but this is not the main science production areas. So we have still a fair bit of high-tech science right here. And then the Lotus and structures being produced here, and the red and green science, a ton of green science. It looks like a lot more green science compared to red science. Obviously, green science takes longer, but still. They are using some efficiency beacons. Perhaps some power problems occurred here at some point. Using smelters here with belts. It does seem like mostly a belt base, at least in this section here. So steel, they are belting in iron with, I can't quite tell how many lanes this is. They are doing some, like, this is kind of like the one lane balancing, which is not really necessary or really great. They're taking a lane which is already compressed and balanced, and then kind of just like balancing it again for no reason. But again, they said, they tried all kind of different stuff. Some things are very inefficient, some more efficient. So we're just keeping that in mind. I'm just kind of pointing out things I find interesting here. Using the priority feature here on these splitters a lot to try to, make things go where they want them to go. So it's feeding in iron, pumping out steel. Now, again, another interesting thing I noticed is these are not using productivity modules. I think steel is something that absolutely should use productivity modules, considering it takes 5 iron to make 1 steel. This is 6 beaconed, it looks like, because they can't fit their full line of beacons in here. And then they are using speed modules, but then prod on some of them. So this is what I mean. It's very unique. It's a vast array of techniques throughout the base here. Here's the iron production that we saw, and it's feeding in some directly from an ore patch. Actually, it looks like all directly from an ore patch. I thought these were from trains. So this comes in from an ore patch directly. Now the ore patches were not spawned in. Obviously, this is very much vanilla. I think biters were turned off, considering the lack of military science and the fact we don't see any. They're using Power Armor Mark III for exoskeletons. You see no military stuff in there. The shields, I would assume, are maybe to prevent train deaths. I can understand that. There's that. We have some oil in there. So we just looked at that. Green science, red science. Some engine production here. Rails. So here's some purple science, more rails. We have some circuit production here. This is it's only, so yeah, again, interesting. And again, not criticizing, interesting things. I just like to point out only using 2 modules in each of these, potentially power issues like they didn't want to fully modular, or maybe they didn't have enough modules, which would not be surprising. Module 3s are very hard to amass in large quantities. So more red and green science kind of scattered throughout here. And again, everything looks like it's running slow because the game is basically running at half speed because we're at 30 UPS, because that's just how much is going on in here. They're not like out of power or anything. This is just why everything's running slow, because the game is actually running about half speed. And then just some production of things here. It looks like Spidertrons, some more oil over here, some red circuit builds, which have copper kind of created in front and fed in. I'm not going to spend a ton of time on this because there's a bunch of the rest of the base to look at. Blue science here, rock control units here. The rails are like all over the place. And the rail runs straight through the base, which while it makes me very uncomfortable for my life, I'm always very interested. I always kind of like the idea of the rail running through the base. I think it's just a fun, unique way to have a base, you know. And then this is using roundabouts and obviously single-headed trains. Purple science here, some more purple science. This is not the only purple science, I don't believe. This obviously is a much larger build than what we just saw. Low density structures are made here, which obviously does not go to purple science, but it's made next to it. Yellow science right here. So these, I would imagine, are fed. They're fed on the. Some of them are fed on the trains, and then some of them are sent out to some very far away destination via belts. You can kind of just follow this belt here all the way over to here, which I think is the rockets. So yeah, here's the rockets. There's a lot of rockets, guys. This is 16 rockets, rocket silos. So 4x4, obviously more than they need for their 5,500 science per minute. They would only need about 6 or 7, I think. But obviously very cool to have 16. It looks very nice. So these are all made here using some smarts on belts to potentially control the flow. Scoot away from that, it's quite loud. And then more tons of rocket control unit production here. Massive amounts of rocket control unit production. These are 8 beaconed. So a lot of the later builds seem to be 8 beaconed where possible. Again, due to the belt routing, they can't put the full line on some of these, but that is there. Copper smelting here. The copper smelters are, I say, fairly standard. This is a very common, good way to build your stuff, just kind of stagger them like this. And then, of course, this does make this 8 beaconed. Now, one thing that's interesting is instead of what the way I would build is run these belts horizontally through this, they're actually running the belts vertically through this, basically through each row, which does take more belts, I think, unless this were like a perfect square, maybe. But yeah, so they're running the ore directly underneath the furnace, and then the plates are kind of on like every couple here. So like here's a plate line over here, and this is all running down, which all feeds into this, and then feeds into trains. A 1-1 train, several 1-1 trains, quite a lot actually. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 1-1 train stations here. So 8 trains used for just this copper thing. You know, you can see how the trains are accumulating quite quickly here. And then these guys all go out and go their different directions. This thing, okay, he's waiting here, saving the game. And so we looked at all that. Let's take a look at, so here's some massive iron production. And this is a lot of splitters. This is a potentially too many splitters. Basically, this entire thing is splitters, which I don't really, I mean, I would assume this is for balancing of some sort. I don't entirely understand it. I don't know if this is completely necessary. So, again, this is a base tour, not a base review, so I don't really want to be too critical or go into like do's and don'ts too much. But just a few notes in terms of the performance and, like, you know, for Ply, if you are continuing to play this base yourself and you want some better performance, I would say, like, this type of stuff definitely impacting the performance. Also bottleneck. Bottleneck is a pretty big performance hog, at least last time I knew. It looks like maybe not actually anymore. It maybe is a lot better. With that, game update, yeah, very high. You can see entity update is quite high here. Trains are another thing. The trains are actually a massive part of this. 900 trains. But I can understand why you wouldn't want to redo the trains, because redoing the whole rail system and stuff would take probably almost as long as the whole map took. And it is very interesting to watch. Like, there are so many trains on this map. Basically, everywhere you look, there's going to be a lot of train movement, which is always fascinating. It's always fun to watch trains. So there's the type of smelters that we have in that section. We have a large red science build up here, which is using red belt and coming down, and this feeds directly into labs. Now, I don't think this is the only lab section. It might be. So this is using productivity modules in the labs, thankfully, and beacons. This seems to be about 6 beacon, same as a lot of the other builds. So these feed into the labs here. Red science comes up from there. All the other sciences kind of come from all over the place. Blue science is luckily located right here next to it. Green science is dropped off here. And then purple science was, well, kind of all over the place here. This one comes from all the way over here. We could follow the belt. Well, part of it, at least, comes from over here, which I think is where we look down here. And then some is going to be delivered by train. Let's take a look at this green science train, see where it's going. So it's going to green science, which was located, I believe, well, there's several builds, I think, of green science. There was obviously some we looked at in the main base here, but there's also some over here. So this is a very large green science build, which actually is not even on it. It's completely backed up at the moment. So all these are full. There's a ton of science in these chests. But you can see here, this is using productivity modules. Now this one is only 2 beaconed, basically, because there's the 4 modules in here, plus 2 more effect sources, so 2 beacons. Due to the spacing here, they're really only able to hit it with 2 beacons for the most part. The the belts and inserters are made locally here. A lot of them are made here to feed all this. Speed modules in those, of course, you can't productivity module that. Circuits are dropped off here, and this is, I can't tell, is this a full train? No, okay, these are just stopped like right up against each other with this signal here. And then you can see, here's an example of some of the 1-4 trains that are being used. So this one for iron, and they're just stopped like right back to back here. With these signals, which is fine. That definitely works. It's a good way to get good throughput, because as soon as this one pulls forward and passes this signal, this one can move. And in fact, if there's more signals in here, it can move even faster. It doesn't look like there is, though. Ton of gear production here, which is of course flowing up to what we just looked at. If we take a look down here, more iron production, or drop off, so more iron drop off here. Over here, we can take a look. So nuclear, this would be another thing if you want to help your UPS. So many pumps and so many tanks, definitely probably not helping things. I'm not sure what the fluid manager is actually not as high as I thought it would be. Primarily it's trains, because if we look 4.5 for transport lines, and then trains are about 8.5, so that right there is about 13 update time purely for trains, which would actually almost bring us down to like 16 or 15 update time, which is how you can be at 60 UPS. It wouldn't quite, but we'd probably be at about 50 UPS or so, if that were managed to be brought down quite a bit. So these nuclear setups storing a ton of steam here, and all the turbines are right here. So the actual reactors are right here. This is just one of several builds, supplying the steam and then storing it here for the heat exchangers, which then they're actually training in water. This is more common than you might think, training in water here. This is a 1-6 train, so gonna be real slow chugging along here with just the one locomotive, but delivering water for this, and as that's working there. And so that's one nuclear setup. Like I said, there's several of these kind of throughout the map. there's a ton of solar. This entire thing up here is solar, so they just went crazy with expanding solar throughout here wherever it would fit. Like I said at the beginning, the majority of the power is from solar on this map. If we find a power pole here, you can see this is consuming about 36 gigawatts of power. 750,000 solar panels here, over 500,000 accumulators, and then 3,500 steam turbines. Right now, all of the power is being generated by solar. The nuclear, I think, is probably just backup, or maybe at night. They don't have enough accumulators to supply everything. We found ourselves at the blue circuit build, so we might as well take a look at this. It is 8 beaconed, so this one, or sorry, 6 beacon. This one is 6 beacon using productivity modules. So circuits they're sharing a train here. So they have a train that's split between green and red circuits, which is interesting. By the looks of it, it's mostly green circuits. There you can see 6.6k green circuits and 1.4k red circuits. So only a couple spots of red circuits there, 7 spots to be exact. They stack in 200s. So 7 spots of red circuits, and then all the rest are going to be green circuits. And they're just pulling up here, dropping off. This goes into these guys, and it looks like the last ones maybe are not getting green circuits. So they're doing belt weaving here. They did mention, if we recall, that they do like belt weaving. Belt weaving can be very good. So the blue circuits are being dropped on the red circuit belt here, or red belt here, and then the green circuits are imported with a blue belt in the same like plane here, because of how belt weaving works. And then the red circuits are coming in on this blue belt, kind of going underneath the beacons. And this is very, very interesting. I almost never see this. Is a mix of efficiency and speed modules in these beacons. So they're kind of every other here. Speed, efficiency, etc. So this is quite interesting. This kind of helps offset the power consumption of the speed beacons. So this is kind of an interesting way of doing. I don't actually know that I've ever really seen this used in any large scale at all. So, you know, efficiency modules still can be good. Personally, I don't use them. I just build more power. But, you know, if you don't want to build more power or what have you, this can definitely kind of help offset the consumption of the speed beacons and modules, of course, in the assemblers. So this is quite a large blue circuit build, and this is sending out, I'm trying to count all these belts, a lot of blue circuit belts. These are obviously, they're only half belts here. I would say maybe 3 or 4 belts of blue circuits, which flow in combined with the speed modules straight up to this very large rocket control unit production. Speaking of speed modules, they are made over here. And these are, you know, same kind of type of deal here. Now, these actually are not beaconed at all. So, yet another variation of builds here. These are fully speed modded, which, again, you can't productivity in them anyway. But then no beacons. Probably this was just fast enough for them. And they have a ton of these all feeding into here. The green circuits are over here, and the red circuits are in the middle. Oh, yeah, belt weaving again. I can't see some of the blue belts because of the power pole. But yeah, so belt weaving down the middle here. Again, the red circuits being on this blue belt and then outputting the speed modules on this red belt. So very good use of belt weaving for sure here. And this is, looks like being fed in at least 4 belts of red circuits. And then that flows over to what we just looked at. Furnace production over here. Stone brick is delivered with train. Steel is also delivered with train and potentially smelted locally. You can see, you saw that one train, and then some of it is coming in from over here, which is coming in from somewhere. Trying to find this is okay. So then this comes in from over here. So again, very, very interesting. They're building this quite a ways through all these rails, all the way up to where we were, and then a huge amount of engines right here. We have an engine build kind of just smacked in the middle here with steel, which is convenient because they had the steel right there. And then gears are being trained in here. Pipe is being also trained in, quite interestingly. Can't say I very often see pipe trains. So there's that. And then this one here, if we go to location here. So this is a steel build we just looked at. One of many, many steel builds. You can see one here, one here, one here. More up where we looked. Now these iron sticks caught my eye. So a massive, massive iron stick production area. Tons of iron being fed in, producing these iron sticks, of course, for none other than the gigantic amount of rail production you need for Purple Science. So these all have one speed module in them, not beaconed. Very, very big use of belt weaving here. In fact, belts basically in every single tile they can put them, which is kind of cool. We have the red belt, which looks like it's they got the sticks on it, and then the blue belt here, which has stone on it, and then actually going vertically, so then going the other direction here, going upwards, is the actual belt of rail. Now they are only using one inserter to output. I don't think that's quite enough, although there's not really room for any others anyway, so you know, it's kind of the best they could do. But then actually they're running... Okay, hold on. Okay, so no, they're actually running rail two directions. So never mind. They're actually using two inserters to output. One here going vertically. This is very interesting. This is really capturing my interest. So why does this look like it's running backwards when it's actually going this way? I think that's just a visual thing. But yeah, so this is going going right to left. But this is output. So they're actually outputting rails going upwards, and then they're outputting rails that go this way. And it's belt weaving through here because then the steel's coming in this other way here, and then the these come in and merge over here to give us a total of like 6 belts of rail, blue belts of rail. Okay, so one last time to clarify, because this is confusing me, I'm sure it's confusing you, is we have our red belt of sticks here in between on this row, and then also stone in this row on a blue belt, and then vertically in this section we're outputting rails. And then in this next row, they're actually importing steel on the red belt and outputting rails on a blue belt, going opposite directions. So this is very interesting. This is a very, very good use of belt weaving, literally using basically every single tile they can, because obviously you need power in here too, just taking up that extra tile. So there's not even room for beacons if you wanted them with this design. And this is all coming up, of course, to the huge Purple Science build up here. I think this is just one of several Purple Science builds. So there's that, and you know, the productivity modules are coming in from over here. I think we glanced at that before. So they're actually made next to the speed modules. Makes sense. They take the same thing. And then they're belted on over that way. More delivery here. So this one is delivering just green circuits, and then we have a separate one just for red circuits, opposed to the shared trains we saw earlier for blue circuits. So there's that. Now, if we zoom out a bit more, let's see what else we can find here. So we have these massive, massive red circuit builds, which I would assume is where the majority of that stuff is coming from. So they are actually using cargo wagons as chests here, which is a pretty cool technique. I wouldn't say it's used often, but I have definitely seen it. So they're using these just because, you know, it takes up the space, so you can space your assemblers this way and then use it as a large chest. So they're inputting the copper here and then grabbing it for these cable machines and belting it. Now, belting cable for red circuits I think is okay, just because they don't consume them nearly as fast as green circuits do. They are again using speed modules here. I personally would prefer productivity where possible. I think it would have potentially even outputted more cable and for less resource consumption too. But either way, this is just using a couple beacons here. This is a ton of lanes. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, at least 7 lanes, maybe more lanes than that of cable going to all these red circuit builds, which again are 2 beacon builds because 4 modules in here plus the 2 beacon sources, flowing upwards to here. And then another build of this. Is this even bigger? It's about the same size, I think. And just rails all over the place. You can see tons and tons of waiting. We actually have a jam here, it looks like, potentially. This train is waiting here for a very long time. and then it's holding up all this. So a few train jams here and there, which honestly is, I can't really blame that, considering that there's almost 1,000 trains on this map. Like, I don't really know how you wouldn't have train jams unless you had a ton of separate rail networks, which this is not. So there's a red circuit build. We have another oil build down here. This one does seem to be basically fully beaconed. And then plastic down here. Again, the mix of efficiency and speed module beacons, which is pretty cool. And belt weaving. Actually, if we look here, we have, it looks like, well, it actually looks like you're just outputting 2 belts of plastic. I thought one was going to be coal. This one actually is shared coal and plastic, and then this one is 2. So this red and blue belt, both are half coal, half plastic, and then the ones in the middle, these blue belts and these red belts, are full plastic, which kind of makes sense. This does output a ton of plastic. You need a lot of belt to move that all out. And then this comes over and merges and loads into 2 train stations here. One of these being pure plastic, and one of them being plastic that also has circuits on it, interestingly. So this, I would imagine, is going to... where's this going? Green circuit. What requires plastic and green circuits? Well, red circuits, obviously. I don't see this... Oh, red circuits. Okay, duh. I can't read, so he's going to red circuits. And then I wanted to... This caught my eye. So... Oh, no, we did look at this already. We looked at the splitters of this. We didn't really look at the trains of this huge iron build. So there's just rail, like, going all over the place here. This particular section of rail and drop-offs actually seems to work quite well. We don't really see any backups in here. In fact, the trains are moving quite quickly through this, and this is really actually pretty dang cool. Kind of ingenious in a way. There's just like, there's so many different drop-offs. There's, I can't even fully count them. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, like at least like 20, 30 drop-offs here. And they all come in on these like 2 central rails here. And then these like lane switchers allow them to go either to the top or the bottom. And then they pull out and go to this bottom rail. It looks like they go either to this bottom rail if it's on the bottom stations, or this top rail if it's on the top stations. This is actually really cool. I've never seen something quite like this before. This is very, very cool. They have fueling here for all of them. So this is all unloading, going into here. And this really does. I mean, this is moving trains through here. Man, this is getting them pushed through here. And then this looks like a stacker, so signals here. So this can actually fit a ton of trains, because you can fit like, I don't know, like 10 trains per lane here. And then just directly next to it, we have some, we have a little bit of backup here through this roundabout. This guy's taking a little bit to get through. So throughput here isn't great, but it's not causing a ton of issues in this particular section. Some mining here, like right up against the rail for coal. More over on this side, so 2 coal loading stations. I'm just kind of jumping around because things are kind of all over the place. Now, massive petroleum storage. Holy cow. That is a lot of petroleum storage. This is way more than I would consider necessary. But so many pumps. Holy moly, so many pumps and tanks here. But these guys are going to plastic. So they're using 1-4 trains for this petroleum. We can follow this line. So this is going up to here, which is another plastic build, along with another oil build. Like I said, there are multiple of all these builds throughout the map. So it's kind of hard to look at them in like order, because they're all, like, everything is all over the place. Which again makes this very unique. For Megabase, this is not typically how you see Megabases built, and I like it. I really like it. It's very, to me, it's unique. It's actually very, very impressive to me that they are able to get quite a consistent over 5,000 science per minute production out of something like this. And that may sound critical, like that may sound like, well, I can't believe like this is doing that. I don't mean it in that way. I just mean like if I were to build this way, you know, if I were to build a base that in this fashion, I don't think I would be able to get this amount of production out of it. So the fact they've managed to do this, to me, is really, really cool and really impressive. You know, just because to me, my builds have to be kind of organized. Like this goes here, this goes here. We have like these things in order, and this is just everything everywhere. And to me, like routing stuff to that and building rails and in the builds for that would be extremely difficult. So I have a lot of admiration for them here. So I don't know if we looked at this red circuit build. I don't think we did. This is yet another red circuit build. This one is actually triple belt weaving. So this one is red belt. It looks like red circuits on that red belt. We can see in the preview there. This one is, it's either plastic or green circuits or cable. It's an input belt because of the inserters. I'm not sure. I want to say cable because this one is a shared plastic green circuit belt. And then the red belt is output. This is also an input belt. I can't fully tell. Okay, so the blue ones on the outside are plastic and green circuit. And then the blue ones in the middle are cable. And then the yellow ones in the middle are also cable. So this is actually pretty cool. So they're running 3 belts going multiple different directions, mind you. Because the red circuits are going the opposite direction upwards past the way the cable's coming in. So running 3 different belts, multiple directions in the same plane. Very, very good use of belt weaving there. Very similar type of cable design here, except not using cargo wagons as the chests. Coming over, so cut energy if necessary. So we have a large amount of. So okay, so this looks like they're using a power switch and some smarts to turn off energy, maybe to this, turn off power if they're having power issues. You can see that's kind of what it looks like to me. Tons of solid fuel and rocket fuel production. I would imagine that's what their trains are running on. Can't really see the fuel, but I would imagine that's what they're running on. Coming over here, so this is more oil. Yeah, another oil build. Using a kind of similar technique as to what they did with the iron smelter there, where we had the, like, just rails, the lane switchers all over the place with the pickups and drop-offs here. Again, though, there's not really any backup. This seems to work pretty dang well. Looks kind of cool, too. It's like kind of lattice work here. And then these guys are, so this is a mall, I think. What it looks like. So we have all the stuff, all the ingredients, circuits, plastic, brick, stone, engines, modules, etc. All unloaded here, and then some production, very low amount of production for this. I don't know if this was all the production they used. I mean, obviously they had production for other stuff in their, like, starter base here. You know, I would imagine, so that's maybe just a different section, or maybe they put that there just to build the stuff that's way out here. This is more plastic production over here. We have even more builds way over here. So this is something that was copied from the internet. This is a crazy looking junction. Holy cow. Oh my lord. Okay. So this is like a city block section, is what this is. Copied from somewhere on the internet. Very cool. This is, it looks like a in-progress copper build. I mean, it has trains going to it. It's doing something. It's just not fully built yet. It looks like just the beacons maybe you're missing. Yeah, it's just the beacons. So this is being fed from a local copper patch, 755 million, not counting the productivity, so we can basically consider this infinite. They're also using productivity modules in these, which is very interesting, using productivity modules in the machines even though they have productivity research. That's quite interesting. So there's that. Mining onto these. I mean, the productivity modules slow it down, but again, they get so much productivity from the mining research and stuff that it's still mining a ton of stuff, like every second. And then, so that's copper. Is this another copper? Or is this iron? This is iron here. So just large builds for that. Coming down, we have, I think we looked at the purple science there. I think. This is a different one. I can't tell. I don't remember if we looked at this. No, this is a different build. This is a whole other one altogether. This is the same type of deal here with the belt weaving and stuff with the rails, but a whole nother purple science build here, very large. And then we have a steel and iron. So the iron is output here and then sent underneath the steel to be picked up, it looks like, which is pretty cool. And then I think that's about it, guys. I think we're getting around 40 minutes, which is kind of what I wanted to keep this at. I think we looked at the green. We did look at the green science, but that one I know we looked at. So we hit red science, I think. Oh, here's some circuit production. Look at that really quick. So direct insertion here, full moduled, very good. This is 3 beaconed. It's only beaconing it from one side here, since all the belts and the way this is built. And then a very similar, again, type of thing to that iron build and oil build and stuff, where it's just crossovers and all this loading. But again, it's working. There are no jams in here. It's just input and spitting out trains super quick. The copper and the iron are 1-4 trains, though. And then I would like to try to find, I don't know that we looked at any large red science build. We looked at green, we looked at blue, we looked at purple, we saw the rockets, we saw high tech. I don't know where red science is. I mean, there was that one build. There's this build. Surely that's not all of it, though. Here, I think this may only be the only red one. You don't need, red science is the quickest to make and stuff. I think this may be the only red science build, because this would produce a ton. So we did look at that near the beginning. Let me just take one more glance here. Solar all the way out to here, concrete out to here. I don't know if this is going to be for solar, potentially. It looks like it, maybe based on the arrangement here of the substate, or, oh no, this is solar. Okay, no, those are accumulators. Look like concrete. The color looked the same to me. So that's concrete, or not, shoot, it's accumulators, getting it mixed up. That is accumulators. So they're doing a separate solar accumulator build here. Ton of Spidertrons hanging out over there. And I think that's gonna cover it, guys. I don't see any other red science build. I hope we didn't miss any. But I think we covered most of the stuff. We did look at the nuclear there. We looked at all this. And then we looked at those. Looked at that. I think we covered everything. So there you go. That is a base. Thank you so much to Ply for submitting this. It's very, very interesting, unique in quite a few ways. I'm a big fan of it. It's just really interesting to me to see the vast differences between people's bases. Last time we looked at that super organized, awesome, I believe it was Lily Rose base. Awesome, like organized, just like everything, quote unquote, OCD perfect, organized to the T base that actually did, I think, the same or even slightly less science per minute than this base. And then this base is almost the opposite, not in a bad way or anything. Neither of them are I would say, worse or better necessarily. This one is just stuff all over the place, not a ton of organization that it looks like, and they're doing the same amount of science. They're both Megabases. They're both very cool. They're both very unique. This is why I love doing this, guys. I love doing these base tours, and I know you guys enjoy them because it's so cool to just see the different build styles from everybody. Just the vast differences and stuff, and they all work. Like, I don't think there's necessarily a right or wrong way to build. Clearly, they both work, So, that's going to do it. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, a like is appreciated so other people can find this and hopefully get some inspiration and joy from watching this. And thank you again to Ply for submitting this. I hope I did it justice. And I would love to hear your thoughts down below, guys. What do you think? Are your bases like this or not? And just what do you think of it? I will be doing another base tour hopefully by the end of the month or so. And if you have a base you'd like me to tour, definitely contact me on Discord. That's the best way to contact me. The link for my Discord is down in the description of all my videos, where you can join my server and then message me directly from there. If you have a base you'd like me to tour or review, where I actually review and give suggestions and am, a bit more critical and give suggestions and stuff for that. But anyway, thank you so much, guys. If you're new to the channel, feel free to subscribe. Keep up with more content like this. And until next time, I look forward to seeing you all, and do take care.